Okay, so now on to review questions 27. So for 27, we are looking at a function, which is a rational function, right? It's a fraction, and we're being asked to find the vertical asymptote. So for the vertical asymptote, all you're gonna do is set the denominator equal to 0. So whatever's on the bottom of the fraction, you grab it and make it equal to 0. So 3x minus 2 equals 0, and you solve for x. So that means first add 2, then you get 3x equals 2, and then divide by 3. So then x equals 2/3. So as a decimal though, if we do change that to a decimal, so if you use your calculator just to divide 2 divided by 3, that is 0.667. And then even if we graph it, 2 divided by 3, so it just means that there's a line at 0.67. So it's not at 1, it's after 0.5. So, and that's why it's a vertical asymptote. So if we kind of draw it out, it would be right about here. So vertical asymptote means that it cannot cross this graph, or this line. So this is the line x equals 2/3. It cannot cross it. A horizontal asymptote, that one is done depending on the leading term. So right here, because they are the same, right? They both have x. They don't like have an x squared. They're just both 2x, 3x. Then you just divide them. So at the end, the horizontal asymptote is now also 2/3. But horizontal is sideways, so it means that this one is a line that is at 2/3 this way, in this direction. So a horizontal line, y equals 2/3. It's not at 1, it's a little bit before that. Okay, the x-intercept. So for an x value, it is a value with 0 for the y. So what that means is if we plug in 0 for y, this is the y value. So you're going to put 0 equals 2x plus 9, and on the bottom 3x minus 2. And then you solve for x. So when we multiply by the denominator, 3x minus 2 cancels. When you multiply 3x minus 2 on this side, what's going to go to 0? Because anything multiplied by 0 just goes back to 0. And then you get 2x plus 9. Now we subtract 9. So you get negative 9. And then divide by 2. So then the answer equals negative 9 over 2, which as a decimal, that's negative 4.5. So it means that the x value is negative 4.5 comma 0. So on a graph, it would be negative 4.5. It would be right here. That's where it's touching the y, the x-axis, I mean. And then for the y, you plug in 0 for x, because it's 0 comma a value for the y. It means that you have an answer for y, and this one we have an answer for x, but the y, so the x is going to be 0. So for this one, it's going to be 2 times 0 plus 9, and on the bottom 3 times 0 plus or minus 2. I did that one wrong because it is a minus 2. This is going to go to 0, 2 times 0, 3 times 0. So the answer is 9 divided by negative 2, which is also negative 4.5. That is funny. So 0 comma negative 4.5. So that would be 0 comma negative 4.5 right here. So this graph, if we drew it, it's going to look like this, where it's touching really close and then it curves down. Then it comes this way. And it should also be in the adjacent corner. So it's going to be in this one. And it just goes really, really close to the asymptotes. And it should look like that. So it was draw a sketch of it. So there you go. We can also type it. You can type it into your graphing calculator. I'm going to use Desmos. 2x plus 9 to double check, and 3x minus 2 See, it looks like that, just like had we had it, and here it's crossing at -4.5 and at -4.5. It's not always normal. It never really is normally the same answer, but for this example, it was. They actually ended up being the same example for both. Okay, let's do another one. So again, vertical asymptote, that is when you set the denominator equal to 0. So the denominator is -3x minus 8, make it equal to 0. Now solve for x, so add 8 to both sides. You get -3x equals 8, divide by -3, and x equals -8/3. As a decimal, because it's kind of hard to graph -8 divided by 3, so let's change that to a decimal, -8 divided by 3, and it's -2.6. So it's kind of close to -2.6, so that means that it is right here between -2 and -3. So right here. This is x equals -8/3. So it cannot cross that line. Horizontal asymptote, you look at the leading terms, and because they are the same, they're both x's, then you just divide them. So it's going to be just the 2 and the -3. So it's going to be y equals -2/3. So this one is horizontal, right? It's left to right. So how much is -2 divided by 3? Right, if you need a decimal, divided by 3 is -0.6. So that would be right, nope, that's too far down. It should be halfway, so a little bit closer. So it's not at -1, it's below that. Y equals -2/3. And then for the x-intercept, so for the x value, it means we do have an answer for the x and the y is 0. So it's a number, comma 0. So that means for the y, you want to be plugging in a 0 for the y. Which one is the y? This is the y. So you're going to put a 0 here. 0 equals 2x minus 6 over -3x minus 8. And then you solve for a 0. Well, we always multiply by the denominator, -3x minus 8. And what that does is it cancels them. And when you bring it to this side, it's not going to do anything because when you multiply by 0, it just goes to 0. So it's still going to stay 0. 2x minus 6. Now you're going to add 6. So we get 6 equals 2x and then divide by 2. So the answer is 3 because the 2's cancel. So our x-intercept is 3, 0. So on the x-axis, we should have a dot at 3, 0. There you go. For the y-intercept, the y value means that you have a 0 for x and a value for y. So that means where the x is, you got to put a 0. So we're going to put 2 times 0 minus 6, and on the bottom, -3 times 0 minus 8. The zeros are going to make that go away. So at the end, we just get -6 over -8, which 2 negatives go back to a positive. So it's really 6 over 8. How much is 6 divided by 8 as a decimal? 0.75. So that is our y-intercept, 0, 0.75. So if you graph it, it should be really close to 1, right about there. And then now we can connect our graph. So our graph, it goes really close to the asymptote, and then we go this way. And now we're gonna come in this direction. And that's what it should look like. We can double check. Oh my. Maybe that will help. But sorry, I'm using my daughter's iPad. Let's double check the graph. Fraction. You can type this into your graphing calculator. I have Desmos because it's on an iPad. -3x minus 8. And you can see that it crosses at here and here. And then even if we did our horizontal asymptotes, that's why it can't touch that one. And then our vertical asymptote was -8 divided by 3. And that is our graph. So it's just a sketch of it. It's a rough sketch, but it turned out pretty well. I don't know if everything just got deleted for some reason. It looks like it did.